Hi, and welcome to the Badass Breastfeeding Podcast, co-hosted by Abby Fearing, the Badass Breastfeeder, and Dianne Cassidy, IBCLC.
Today's episode is brought to you by Spandice. Are you pregnant or just had a baby and battling back pain or need belly support? Say hello to Spandice. Each Spandice wrap comes with 2 therapy packs that you can use for hot or cold therapy that lasts up to 3 hours. And for badasses, today you get 20% off plus free shipping on your order when you use promo code BADASS at checkout. Check them out, spandice.com. That's SPAND-ICE.com. You can also find the link in our description.
Hi, and welcome to the Badass Breastfeeding Podcast. I'm Dianne Cassidy, the lactation consultant.
And I'm Abby, the Badass Breastfeeder.
We are going to talk about fitness today.
Yeah. Get up and exercise. I mean, if you want to. I'm not saying.
But the reason we're talking about fitness, and I feel like at some point in all the past episodes, we might have mentioned something about this, but I don't know if we did an episode like directly dedicated to fitness. I don't think we did. No. So we kind of were talking about like how fitness can, how people think it might impact breastfeeding. Does it really impact breastfeeding? What goes on with that fitness and what we see with that, you know, and how it plays out in your breastfeeding lives.
Yeah. I mean, people get, you know, especially you have a baby, you got this extra weight, moms start stressing out about that, which, you know, really you gotta give yourself a chance to recover. Mm-hmm. And it's totally normal to be carrying a little extra weight, and it's okay. But then at some point, moms are like, hey, I used to exercise. I want to start exercising again. But then they're like, uh-oh, you know, because we have this fear that everything we do is going to affect our milk supply. And like, that's, you know, it's the last thing you want.
Or the milk itself.
Yeah, like, right. Is it going to make it taste funny? Is it make it taste like sweat?
Yeah. Is it going to taste funny? Is it going to excrete, you know, toxins in your system and all
then
this stuff?
Then we have these wives' tales, you know, that go around of like, well, my grandma told me if I exercise, it'll taste like feet or something, you know.
Lactic acid. That's what I heard. Lactic acid's going to get in your milk. And I think, you know, I've told a zillion times, like when I was, and I'm so stubborn, but when I was breastfeeding my son, anybody who was usually my mom, but anybody who said anything negative towards breastfeeding, I just countered back with, that's not true. Even if I had no idea if it was or not, you know, like I was just like, that can't be right if people are saying it. But I was a runner. I was a distance runner when I had my son, and I ran, you know, all through pregnancy, and then I had him, and I started running like 2 weeks after he was born, which was not, it was not a good idea. Like not at all. And I started bleeding again and everything. It was not good. But I needed to like escape from my life, I think. So I really took another break again. But then once I started, when he was, you know, a little bit older, a couple months older, or whatever, I started to get back into it again. And I ran like, I probably was almost hovering around 40 miles a week. Like I was a every day, several miles a day. Didn't matter what the weather was. I would come in with snow on my eyelashes and icicles. And my mom, and at the time, like the first 6 months, we stayed at my mom's house because we didn't have a place to live because we had just moved up from a different state. So, you know, we were buying a house and all that stuff. And I would, you know, leave and go running, and it would be early morning in the middle of winter in Rochester, New York. And I'd be in the snow, and my mother would be like, you cannot come in here and feed him. You're freezing. You're cold. You can't hold him to you. You're cold. The breast milk's going to taste. I had several people tell me the breast milk was going to taste funny because I was running so much and the lactic acid was going to affect the taste of my milk. And I'm like, I don't even get that. Like, but I was just like,
how would that happen? I don't even know how it would happen.
I don't even know either. I have no idea. But the bottom line was it wasn't true. Like there was never a problem. I never had a problem. It never affected my supply. Nothing ever, you know, happened. It was fine. It was fine. Nothing ever happened.
Yeah, and that's not how breast milk is made.
Right.
You know, it's not like your body's tired and therefore it can't make enough. It's not, it has nothing to do with that.
But my thing with it, you know, and I don't recommend that people go out and do that right away. And if I were to do it over again, I probably would not. But I was in a difficult place in my life and things were kind of in an uproar. And that always brought me like peace of mind and, you know, clarity to be able to do that. And it was something that I could hold on to and control because I didn't have control over a lot of things at that time. So that was something that I could control. So that was why that was my thing. But it really doesn't impact. You know, if you're somebody who is very active and you want to get out there and exercise again, like there's tons of things, but getting into it slowly, you can't go into it with the same, you know, same excitement and the same, you know, velocity that you did before you were pregnant. And
right. You know,
yeah, that's not the breastfeeding piece of it. That's just like,
well, I was just going to say, I mean, you know, exercising too much too early can have negative effects on you, not your milk supply.
Right.
But on the rest of your body. You know, you need to have that recovery time. And we have it is just so tied into, you know, so much of the pressures of our, you know, society and, you know, to get back into shape and to get back into your old routines and, you know, to, you know, not be, you know, tied down by that baby, you know, like get back to what you were doing. Don't lose yourself. You know, there's like a lot of things that really just stand, you know, in the way of like women being able to just enjoy that postpartum time.
Right.
It's okay to you're supposed to lay around with your baby. That's what you're supposed to be doing.
I can't remember who I was, if it was a class, because I've done a lot this week, but I can't remember if it was one of the classes that I was teaching or if it was a family that I was talking to directly who was asking about, you know, supplements or things that you should take or are there certain foods that you should have or what should you put, like, should you put electrolytes back into your system when you're breastfeeding? Like what certain things should you be doing? And I was like, prenatal vitamins are really important. And then I realized, and I usually do elaborate on this, but the prenatal vitamins, they're important to keep taking prenatal vitamins, not because your milk is deficient in anything, but because you are so deficient in everything after you have a baby. Like,
right, your body is making milk for your baby that's got all the stuff in it that it needs.
Right.
But but the rest of your body, the part of your body that you are using, can be deficient in things.
Right. Absolutely. You know, like in your third trimester, the baby is taking all the iron it needs for the first 6 months of their lives.
Oh, wow.
Out of you. And then if you have, you know, blood loss during labor and delivery or anything like that, like you're even more deficient in iron. So some women come out of the hospital with iron supplements plus prenatals, and that has nothing to do with your milk supply. That's because we need to build you back up. There is some research out there that says that it takes a good 2 years for your nutrient stores and your all of that stuff to become recuperated from having a baby, from being pregnant, because your baby takes everything. They take everything from you. Mm-hmm. And then we just kind of jump back out there and go, 6 weeks, I'm recovered. That's a lot of work on your body. And nobody's saying don't exercise, but like, don't jump in like you're going to run that marathon again in another 6 weeks because it's just not happening.
Don't worry. Yeah. Not because of your milk supply again,
right?
But because your body needs to recover.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We forget about the recovery time. We don't. And, you know, we've got maternity leave, you know, laws in this country to prove it. You know, there is no thought that a woman actually needs to like lay down for a minute after, you know, a human being came out of her tiny little vagina.
Right.
And lived in her uterus. And, you know, like there's no thought to it at all. People are getting back up and going back to work 6 weeks if they're lucky, you know, and their bodies are not ready. And then on top of that, you know, like you said, don't run a marathon.
No, and you know, the sleep thing plays a role. You're not sleeping regularly, which is a huge part of healing. It's just, there's a lot involved. But what can you do? And does anything at all impact breastfeeding? So, I mean, you can do a lot of things. You can do, like, there's some great Mommy and Me yoga programs that are out there now that was never a thing when my kids were little. Mm-hmm. But that's really cool. walking, you know, like all of that kind of stuff is great, especially if you have a baby during the summer. And sometimes you don't, but I always see moms like in the malls and shopping centers, places that are enclosed during the winter months, if you live in a place where winter is horrible like we do. But
yeah,
if you feel like you need to get out and do something, but it's really to feel like we need to lose the baby weight immediately. Is it just a pressure that society puts on us that I feel is so unfair?
It's terrible. I mean, that pressure is on you your whole life as a woman,
right.
You know, being the right shape. And then you have a baby, which makes you gain weight, which is totally and completely healthy thing. And then, yeah, as soon as you have that baby, you're expected to be a fashion model again. If you were to begin with.
I know. Didn't matter what you did before that. You should have,
right.
You know.
We actually ended up getting on this topic because of Serena Williams being in the news. And everyone knows Serena Williams as the awesome tennis player.
And she has been an amazing voice for labor, delivery, newborn babies, postpartum struggles, you know, all of that. She has been an amazing role model for women, and great African-American role model too. I mean, just an athlete and just been very, very vocal about the struggles that she's had and the successes that she's had.
Yeah, that's what's really been awesome to see a lot of her posting about, you know, her insecurities and her doubts and, you know, the struggles that she's having. It's been very real.
Yeah. And I think that's something that people really need to see, because we look at, you know, I mean, okay, who else had a baby this year? The Duchess of Cambridge, and I'm not really knocking her at all, but
right.
she has to come
no
out
one
of the
has that
hospital
life
looking perfect.
Oh
and then
God, yeah.
Serena's like, screw this is hard. Like, that's what we want to hear. We want to hear that because it is, and it's real life, you know. And the celebrities that have done that, like Serena, Brooke Shields, of course, she was a big one way back in the day. Pink has always been very vocal,
yeah,
you know, about stuff. And it's like, we remember that, and they get out there and it's controversial, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, this, you know, this multi-million-dollar singer sells all these, you know, records, this amazing tennis player. They are struggling like a real human being does.
Yeah.
And
but they're doing it, and they're out there. Yeah. And it makes, I think, it makes, it normalizes struggles, and it also normalizes breastfeeding.
Yes.
I mean, there's probably a lot of people who are like, I'm not going to do that. And then they see Serena Williams doing it, and they're like, oh, well, wait a minute. Maybe I could do that.
Right.
Or maybe I want to do it. I want to be like Serena.
And struggling, but enjoying it and making it worth it. And this is what I wanted, so this is what I'm going to do.
Right.
She was very vocal about it.
Yeah. And so what happened? She weaned.
Right?
Yeah. I don't know how old the baby is.
I think I saw she's just starting to walk. So I think she was born in September.
Maybe about it.
I want to say.
Okay.
So,
and the reason, I guess she gave a reason.
She did. She weaned very recently. And the reason she gave was that she was one of those people, and this does happen, she was one of those people who did not easily lose baby weight when breastfeeding. You know, that gets out there that, breastfeed because you lose a ton of weight. For some women, that is the case. For some women, that is not the case. It's just hormones and your body and, you know, whatever. And I've had some women say, you know, I lost my baby weight after I stopped breastfeeding. That's when my body, you know, let it go. But Serena said that she was not losing her weight. And her, I want to say coach, her trainer told her that if she wanted to get back into shape for playing, she needed to wean. And she, you know, considered it and thought about it and cried about it, and, you know, but then ultimately decided that that's what she was going to do. And I was sad because I'm like, oh my gosh, she's such a great, you know, like, she's such a great role model. And for that to be the reason makes me sad. It just makes me sad. But I was happy for her because she was like, you know, I wanted to get to 3 months and I got to 6 and I got a little further, you know, like, so she made her goals, and I feel really happy for her for that. And she actually surpassed her goals.
Yeah, right.
And I think that is amazing because it is really hard when you're struggling in the beginning. But the reason that she stopped made me sad.
Yeah, and that's it. This is really, to me, it is really tied to maternity leave and like a lot of, just the pressures. I mean, this is real. I mean, Serena is a very extreme example. So we have somebody who is right on the brink of being possibly the greatest tennis player that's ever existed. Mm-hmm. And so she has this, she's going down in history regardless.
Right.
But she has the very, very small window of time to get back, win a few more titles, and be like a legend, Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like, I don't know, what would I choose? I would like to think in my situation that I would like choose, but my kids are so much more important. But I don't know. I don't know. That's a pretty awesome thing to be on the brink of, to have the opportunity to do. Yeah. And maybe early weaning was something that she kind of felt was worth it. And and then you have I'm sorry, but you have like it's no different than like somebody who works all the time, who's worked really hard at work, who's maybe gotten a lot of promotions, and then she goes to, I always relate this to the Friends episode of Rachel, has worked really hard to get wherever at Ralph Lauren, she's like some executive, whatever, and she goes on maternity leave, she comes back, someone's been filling her job.
Yeah, I remember.
And she's like, okay, I'm coming back. Here, maternity leave's over. And they're like, what? No, maternity leave's over. She's like, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Here I come.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not fair. Like, men don't go through this. Men do not go through this. Whoever, I don't even know if Serena is married or whatever, but her partner, whatever he does, he didn't have to take time off. He didn't have to sacrifice his career, to do this. Men have babies all the time, and they're not the ones who are there having to sacrifice their careers and this kind of thing for their babies. Women have to make that decision, and no matter what you do, you're going to get judged.
Right.
Whatever that decision is, there's going to be somebody going, oh, you made the wrong decision, or you made, it needs to stop, because people are going to, you have to make the decision. You have to there's no way to get out of it. If you're going to decide to have a baby and you have a career that you could get back into, you're going to have to make that decision. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, people have to be able to make it.
And we don't know her backstory. Like, we know that the stuff that she puts out there for the public to see, but we don't know, like, has somebody or anybody or fans or critics, people reaching out to her and saying, why aren't you back yet? 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 Like, like, we don't know what kind of pressures are on her.
Well, and she has an agent, I'm sure the agent's like, hey man, you could make, look, your time is running out, man. Come on. Yeah. Yeah. And if this episode is about fitness, not about weaning, although it's, can be related, because some people will think like, well, I play tennis, or I play hockey, or I do whatever. And if I get involved in that level of, training or whatever, it could hurt my milk supply, or like this could hurt my ability to breastfeed and to parent, and, do I have to wean or whatever? So, I mean, do you think, so you would know, would it, because her Serena's reasons sounds like they are more weight and training issues, but if she was concerned about milk supply, knowing what like a professional athlete's training regimen would be like, could something that extreme affect your milk supply?
I don't think so. No, I really don't. And I don't think there's a whole lot of research behind it. I think I've maybe read one study. Yeah. It was kind of inconclusive. But I really don't. I really don't think. And she was kind of in a place too where it was like, oh God, she was over that 6-month mark where she probably could still breastfeed a little bit, and give
like just in the evenings or whatever. Yeah.
But I mean, who knows what kind of guidance she got too.
Right, exactly. Well, that's the other thing. Who knows what kind of information is going around it. How about a word from our sponsor? This episode is brought to you by Spandice, ice and heat therapy wraps you can reposition based on your specific postpartum recovery needs.
Ice is perfect for C-section recovery, postpartum back pain, and much more. It also offers abdominal support too. What's not to love? Heal faster with the Spandice Postpartum Recovery Wrap at spandice.com/badass. That's SPAND-ICE.com/badass, and you can find the link in our description.
But anyway, like we were talking with fitness, I really don't think, and I'll have to see if I can find that article. We'll put it on, we'll put it in the links and stuff, because it was a while back and there's really not a lot of research based on it, on really high level.
Yeah, because, you think
fitness.
about like high level training, or because you think about like gymnasts, and these people like gymnasts, they start when they're like 4 or whatever. But you can see the physical consequences of training that hard that young. Their bodies look different as they grow up. Their bodies look a little different than other people's.
Maybe not as developed.
Yeah, right. So there are some consequences to that level of training, or whatever you want to call it, because these people are doing it all day. Really rigorous things from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to sleep. And it's,
And we know how time-consuming breastfeeding is.
Yeah.
And we know that when you're not with your baby, pumping is the next ideal alternative. And I think that would be a very hard thing to do as well if you are a superior athlete. It's just, but the demands, like you said, the demands that are put on us as a society are very, very strict.
And your body. And so, again, there are effects of that, but probably not on your milk supply.
I don't think it would.
That's probably not something you would have to worry about.
Because,
certainly really not with like regular people exercising.
Oh my God. Mm-mm. No, it's fine. And, people really kind of think all the time, no, you can't do it. The things that I worry more about, and I know I've said this a million times, is if moms start to get into like a routine where they're dieting along with exercising because they feel like they need to do that. Maybe they aren't losing their weight and they're dieting along with exercising, and they're taking maybe like those protein shakes and things like that. Like I have seen stuff like that interfere with milk in a way, not like, okay, it's going to hurt your milk supply, but it might like cause problems as far as making babies fussy and gassy and things like that, because those protein shakes are so high in vitamin that can cause, some problems for babies to try to work through their system. But if you are also dieting on top of exercising and you're taking care of a baby, like your baby's still going to get great milk, but you're going to be so worn down, I would think, like just dragging if you're limiting calories and exercising and breastfeeding.
Yeah. Not an episode is going to go by where I don't bring up the ladies in the concentration camps, because, they had full milk supplies, totally malnourished. They felt horrible, but their babies were eating fine. But yeah, your body, you have to think about your body too. And it's most likely what you're doing is, I had a woman sent me an email, it was like a few weeks ago now, but she said, do you think that like, she said, do you think like going on a diet and exercising is going to affect my milk supply? And I said, regular exercising and eating healthy is certainly not going to hurt your milk supply. And I said, I don't know exactly what you mean by dieting, but there are diets out there where, the Atkins diet has become so normal, when actually, they're kind of extreme on your body, because you're completely restricting your body from certain nutrients. And I was just like, I don't know what would happen, if you're going on an extreme diet and an extreme exercise plan. Like you said, like it might not be my milk supply, but that's going to have a lot of, that might have an effect on your body, and your it might not be like, you might feel horrible.
Right.
you don't know what's going to happen with that.
And your body's still recovering. So
your body is recovering, and
sometimes I'll tell people, like, if they're really concerned about stuff like that, I'll refer them on. I have a friend who's a dietitian, and she is really great with stuff like that because she's got some lactation background training. She's a CLC actually, and a dietitian, and does a lot of specializing with like pregnancy and postpartum and like baby starting solids and all kinds of stuff like that. So sometimes, like, if you really have concerns, see a professional, see a dietitian who can actually go through menu planning with you and talk to you about what your body needs right now.
Yeah, not your doctor.
No.
Because your doctor is not a nutritionist, just like they're not a lactation consultant. Go to a nutritionist or a dietitian or whatever. Find one and like they can guide you.
Yeah, because it really, you know, it can make a huge difference. And a lot of them are covered by insurance now. So it's, you know, definitely look into it if it's something that you are concerned about and you want to make sure, look, I want to be healthy and do the best thing for my baby, but I also don't want to feel awful.
Yeah. And I mean, really, I think the thing is that, you know, understand that mild to moderate exercise has amazing benefits on your body. You don't have to break your back and starve yourself in order to lose, you know, to lose the baby weight and to feel healthy again. I know that baby weight is a controversial topic because it comes off easily for some, and for some people, they never lose it. And so I'm not really, you know, there's really no way to go with that. But I mean, as far as just being healthy and wanting to be a healthier person and involving exercise and eating right, I mean, you know, just I think maybe common sense rules apply.
And,
you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of like just everyday life. You know, God, so many years ago, I lived in California at one point in my past life, and I was going to school there, actually for nutrition. I was very interested in nutrition at the time. And I remember taking this nutrition course, and there was this one girl, and she was young. And I mean, I was like late 20s, but it was before I had kids, but she was maybe probably first year of college. And she raises her hand in class and she's like, what would happen? Like, would I get fat if I, for example, only ate chili dogs? And the nutritionist, or our teacher, who was this adorable little, like, she was in a med school and, you know, teaching nutrition. And she goes, you would probably not get fat, but you will probably not feel good. Like, it's logical, you know, like, but it's not just because you've had a baby. That's just how your body works. That's like the rule, like you're saying, kind of common sense rules. Like, you're not going to feel
Don't go on
good.
the chili dog diet. Like, that's not going to work.
And you can tell that she probably had already been doing that for quite a long time. But
I've done that.
Yeah, well,
I've been on that diet.
But you're not going to, if you're trying to take care of a baby and recover from being pregnant for 9 months, that's not the best idea. So,
no.
Yeah, just be sensible.
Yeah, and try to, you know, like start with things that you like, you know, things that, you know, I don't know, maybe like going on walks. Mm-hmm. So go out, you know, start walking around. Get a baby carrier, you know, and you can bring the baby. It's a lot easier. We go to this like little play place in the neighborhood, and they have in the morning, they have like the gym closed, and you can see in the window is like the mommy and me class, and it's like a stroller class. So the moms all have their new babies in the strollers, and they're kind of like dancing like backwards and forwards in a circle. And they're like, oh, and they're just like having so much fun, and they're exercising, and their baby's there, and they're not, you know, they're not going to keel over. Yeah.
But you are, and like, especially if maybe you're not a first-time mom, but maybe you're like a second-time mom or a third-time mom, and you're feeling like, oh my gosh, I barely lost the weight the first time, and now I'm pregnant again, and I'm having this other baby, and I really need to be restrictive. And you're not only recovering from childbirth and breastfeeding, you're also chasing a toddler.
Yeah.
So you need to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. And chasing around a toddler is very energy burning. Anyway.
It's a great way to get some exercise. Yeah. Just chase your children.
Go to an open field and, you know, it's just like.
I know for me that when I was, so I had Jack, and then I was one of those people who I ate like cheeseburgers with a fried egg on top.
Oh my God.
Like
that's so funny.
every day. And I lost more than my baby weight.
Yeah.
The first time. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. And I'm all like, yeah, breastfeeding really does help you lose weight. Yeah, it really does. Because I, represent the sample of all people. And so the second time, so I have Exley, and I did the same thing because I was just like eating all the time. Yay, eating. And I weighed the exact same weight that I weighed the day that I gave birth to him 6 months later. Like, I was exactly the same.
Oh my God, how funny.
And I was like, wow, okay, so that's not working. And I realized that because you have this whole eating for two thing, which, by the way, isn't really true. I think they say like the actual like number that is recommended or whatever is like an extra 200 calories or something while you're pregnant.
I think it's 300 pregnant, 500 breastfeeding.
Okay.
But with pregnancy, it might be whatever stage of pregnancy you're in. It might depend on like what trimester or whatever.
Yeah. But it's not like 3 extra meals.
No.
If you, and I was one of these people who ate constantly. So I just love to eat. So, but that's not, you don't need to eat really for 2 grown adults. You're eating for you and then a second person that's like, is the size of like an egg. But so what's my point? So then I realized that with Exley, I kind of like started paying attention to what I was eating, and I was like, probably maybe what might help is for me to just stop eating like 6 meals a day. And I just started paying attention more to I've always worked out, like that's always been something that I enjoy. And then I just started paying attention a little bit more to like my portions. And that started working. Yeah. And I think especially for somebody who's like pregnant, breastfeeding, pregnant again, breastfeeding, like you kind of forget what it's like to just eat for one person. Because it changes so much of your eating habits that once you're just kind of yourself again, nobody's on you or, in you. Yeah. You forget to kind of revert back to it.
And, now that you even say that, like, that's such a good point. And I'm thinking back to when all 3 of mine were toddlers. And I don't think I ever ate a real meal. Like you're standing up. I don't think I ate a hot meal sitting down for years. Yeah, right. No. Right. And you're kind of eating what they leave behind, and you're eating whatever's here, and you're cooking, and they want something different. You got to get up and get milk. You got to get up and get water. You got to get up and get this, and somebody needs this, and who's got to go to the bathroom. And, like you're not really sitting down eating a meal, and you totally lose track of what you're even doing.
Yeah, and you're not getting full, so you're always feeling hungry because all you're doing is having a bite here, having a bite there, having a bite here. But then you end up eating all of their food, all the food that you made for yourself, all of, all the food that you feel bad about throwing away. And
it's hard. And then you go, oh my God, I can't lose this weight. But it really like just being more mindful of kind of what's going on is, but you gotta you will feel like crap if you just don't take care of yourself because you're doing a lot of things. Right. You have to be good to yourself. Be good to yourself.
Yeah. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, it really is. And the rest will come. The rest will come. Yeah.
But you can work out and not hurt your milk supply. Yeah. That's what we're trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what took us 32 minutes to say.
Yeah, I know. Because it doesn't hurt your milk supply. It might hurt you if you go overboard, but it does not hurt your milk supply. Right. Your milk supply will be fine. We could have done that in 5 minutes, but then it wouldn't have been as fun.
It wouldn't have been as fun, no.
Yeah. But we will see you next time. I don't know what we're going to talk about.
Please leave us a review. I don't know either,
Leave us a review. Tell us how we're doing. That helps us a lot. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.